So on today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the number one key to lasting vocal transformation. So you probably have found my channel either because you are experiencing limitations with your voice in a physical sense. So maybe your voice is really monotonous and you want to sound more expressive. Maybe your voice is really weak and quiet and you want to find more power and the ability to project more easily. Or maybe your voice is just stuck in your throat and it's very raspy and croaky, and you want to find more freedom and ease when you speak. Or maybe you're here because emotionally, when you come to speak, it triggers feelings of fear, anxiety, doubt, hesitation, insecurity, and you want to feel more confident when you speak. But either way, whatever brings you to my channel and whatever awareness you have around your voice, I guarantee that on some level, if you're very honest with yourself, your voice as it stands feels like home. And there lies the challenge, because when it feels like home, you are going to have a very strong attachment to the identity you have around your voice and yourself. So if that resonates with you, please do stay tuned. But before I get going, my name is Anuska Taylor. I'm an experienced voice coach. I've been working with clients, singers and speakers, for more than 15 years. I'm also a singer myself, and I'm also a Jungian depth coach. And what makes my work so unique is I bring both the physical side of voice training, or the technique, vocal function, creative expression, and how you bring your words to life, with the deeper psychology of what's really driving your habits. Where are you putting the brakes on? Why are you putting the brakes on? And how you can begin to break free of those habits. And normally you'll find most people, most coaches, voice coaches, public speaking coaches, they focus on the physical training side of the voice, very little around the emotional aspect of speech. So that's really what makes my work so unique. So if you're interested in finding out more, all the links are below. I have a newsletter you can subscribe to, but I've also got a couple of online courses through to my signature 8-month high ticket private coaching option. If you really want to create lasting change, you are ready for that deeper transformation in how you show up, how you feel about yourself. And this goes far beyond your voice. This is you feeling different and more actually aligned with who you really are. And it impacts every area of your life. So your voice becomes a byproduct. So you can book a 30-minute consult if that is of interest to you. So let's talk about this then. This idea of your current voice as it stands feels like home. Now, you might not like it when I say that, but no, Anuska, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like home. But on some level, there is a comfort there. Now, let me just give you an example outside of the voice space before I go back into the voice space, just to illustrate this, which might help you to understand this a little bit more. And if you like to work out, like I like doing yoga. I've done a lot of yoga and Pilates over the years. I've also gone to the gym and done weights. So I like to keep fit. So if you like to keep fit, hopefully this example will resonate with you. So a big part of all of those, yoga, Pilates, and even lifting weights, is my body being in alignment. So I can do the particular task or exercise or posture with integrity. So I like it when a teacher or a coach comes around and adjusts me so that I can actually be in better alignment to actually do the exercise or task or posture with integrity. And the thing that always fascinates me is I think I am in alignment. I think I do have my body in the right position for a particular posture or to lift weights or whatever. And then they'll come around and they'll adjust me and they'll say, well, you know, your shoulder's up by your ear. Can you just bring it down? Or your hips are twisted, or your knees are in, or something. I'll be doing something and I won't even know that I'm doing it. And I'll actually think that I'm not doing it, more to the point. But the way I am holding my body feels very natural, feels like home. This feels normal. And so they come around and they adjust me, and then they kind of like, right, well, we're going to pull your shoulder back or twist your hips back. And I'm like, oh, is that really straight? And they're like, yeah, that's straight. You know, that's how your body is meant to be in this position. And I then look at myself in a mirror and I'm like, wow, okay, I was really off, but I didn't realize because actually the way I was holding my posture, holding my alignment, felt very comfortable and normal and like home. So hopefully you can relate to that. If you go to the gym, particularly if you do any weight training or you go to yoga, Pilates, how many times have you ever been adjusted or even looked at yourself in a mirror and thought you were in a particular position because it felt comfortable, it felt normal to you, and then you readjust yourself or someone comes and readjusts you and it just feels a little bit weird and you're like your brain's like no, I I'm sure the way I was doing it before was the normal way. And this is what happens with our voice, because the way we use our voice is so normal to us, it's so natural to us. And people use that word all the time with me, well, this just feels natural. And I'm like, it's not really natural, it's habitual. It's a big difference between habitual and natural. But from our perspective, it does feel natural. It does feel normal. And so when you get adjusted, it does feel strange. It feels weird. It feels unnatural. And it might even feel like a threat to you. Maybe it's about opening yourself up more and you're used to kind of constricting yourself and making yourself small, and actually opening yourself up feels emotionally very threatening. So this is what is happening with our voice all the time, except for most people, they have so little awareness of their voice. They really believe the way their voice is, even if it's croaky, it's raspy, it's mumbled, it's monotonous, it's breathy, it's weak, it's strained, it's forced, is natural, is normal. And that's not the way your voice is designed to function. That's not the way your true voice is designed to function. And that's never how you're going to access the fullness of your voice, your true voice, which is what my work is all about. It's all about your authentic voice. It's not about trying to make you sound like someone else. It's actually about really revealing and allowing your true voice to emerge. So what I find when I work with clients are there are people that are very aware of vocal limitations that they have, that they know are hindering them. So as I said at the beginning, like monotonous voice, and you're talking and people are just switching off because it's so boring to listen to. There's no melody, there's no expression. It all sounds the same. It's all very, very flat and dull sounding. So, sometimes people are aware of that. Sometimes people are aware if there's more of an extreme physical reaction in their voice. So, for example, if the voice quickly and easily fatigues, if the throat feels tight, if there's a lot of tension through the chest or the jaw. So sometimes it can be more of an extreme sort of physical discomfort, or it could just be, you're able to hear it in your own voice. Oh my God, my voice sounds so monotonous, like I'm bored listening to myself speak. But interestingly, sometimes people have absolutely no idea. And I work with clients like this all the time. And actually, I remember having a conversation not that long ago with a woman on LinkedIn. So she said she was looking for a voice coach to help her feel more confident when she spoke. And so I said to her, okay, so tell me what's going on with your voice. How is it feeling? How does it sound? And she said, oh no, it sounds and feels great, but I just don't feel confident. And then I said, okay, well, that's interesting because I would say 99.9% of the time, if you don't feel confident when you're speaking and there's anxiety and fear around your voice, it is going to manifest in your voice. So I gave her some examples of how it might manifest. So I said things like, well, do you run out of breath? Does your throat feel tight? Do you swallow your sound? And she's like, oh yeah, no, I do that. And I said, well, there you go. It is impacting your voice. So I use this example just to show that a lot of people have no real awareness of their voice until I actually point it out and say, well, do you experience this or this or this? Oh, yeah, I feel that. Well, that's your voice. So there's no right or wrong, but my point is, if there's all of this emotion around your voice, this anxiety, this fear, this hesitation, this doubt, this insecurity, it is going to 100% impact how your voice sounds. So it really depends on where you're coming to this from. So again, no right or wrong, but start to become aware if you have more of that emotional sense of your voice holding you back, start to become aware of how is this manifesting physically in my voice, and maybe record yourself and listen back, or really become super, super aware of how things feel when you speak. So that's a big part of this, because the challenge is, as I said, your vocal habits will feel like home. So this is going to feel normal for you. So even if you pull your voice back into your throat, it's going to feel normal. Even if you mumble, it's going to feel normal. It's going to feel safe. It's going to feel secure. Emotionally, it allows you to stay exactly where you are. And this is the challenge, because our voice as it stands is very, very much tied to our personal identity. How we perceive ourselves in the world, how we want others to perceive us, which is all about the shadow and the persona from the Jungian perspective, and how our ego then creates these vocal habits to allow us to fit the persona and avoid the shadow. And so when you want to actually create change, you have to start to expand this sense of self, this personal identity that you have created. So let's say, for example, that you've always very overly identified with being an introvert. And we hear this all the time. Well, I'm just an introvert. And actually, interestingly, it's a Jungian term, but it's been sort of misunderstood and misused. So it just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't have a powerful voice. It means that the way you recharge is more an internal, individual way versus being in a group. But you can be an introvert and have a very, very powerful voice. I would argue I'm an introvert, but I can use my voice in a very, very powerful way. So again, these terms can get misunderstood and misused. But if you heavily identify with being an introvert, that I guarantee is going to be impacting the way you're using your voice. You are not going to be allowing more power, more strength, more boldness, more intensity to come through in your voice. Because for a lot of people, introversion, for example, is keeping the voice small and quiet and not taking up too much space and not making too much noise. So you can see how when you're heavily identified with a particular persona around your voice, it is going to limit what's possible with your voice. So this is why it's so challenging to change, because we have to actually expand our sense of self. And the way I do this is really to help people, first of all, understand what they've placed in their shadow, and then to begin to integrate it, because then you have a choice. So even if you do think you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can choose to be loud. You can choose to be very vulnerable when you speak. You can choose to be very assertive and authoritative when you speak, but you're not being bound by that identity that you've bought into. So when we come to make those changes, then there's going to be a lot of resistance, whether you're aware of this or not. And again, this is where that real connection to self, this is where our awareness comes in, because we go to create those changes in our voice. And we have to start to notice those feelings that start to arise as we leave our vocal comfort zone. So using the introvert example, I'm going to now morph, I'm going to allow a bit of that extroversion into my voice. That is going to trigger something in you. If you are heavily identified with being an introvert when you speak, allowing more of the extroversion qualities into your voice is going to trigger your ego. And this is where the coaching comes in, because otherwise you're just never actually free. You are literally living in a cage of introversion or whatever it is for you. I'm just using that as an example. Whatever you've identified with that is holding your vocal habits in place. So it's very tricky because it's an awareness exercise, but then it's an exercise in allowing yourself to actually leave your vocal comfort zone, allow all those feelings to come up, and work with the fears and integrate the fears so that you are truly free. And this is what I do with clients. And this is why I say it's not about exercises. So if it was just about exercises and tools, in the case of using the introvert example, I could just give them some exercises to build strength and power and authority and intensity in their voice. But I know from my years and years of training and working with clients around the world that there is a lot of resistance when I do that. There's a lot of internal fears that come up. And the resistance might not be, they might not say, no, I'm not going to do it in a very direct way. But what will happen is they won't practice. They'll find they don't have time. Life gets really busy. They get sick. So in some way, they don't allow themselves to create that change. And then when they do the exercises, they kind of half-ass it Again, not deliberately, but they don't throw themselves into it. They'll be half doing it. They'll half allow their voice to come out. So they'll have like one foot on the brake, one foot on the accelerator. So really, this work is about expanding your self-concept and your personal identity so that you can move beyond what has become familiar, comfortable, and safe to your ego, which is not who you are. And then you can expand into the version of yourself you really want to be and who you truly are. And then the voice can follow. But you can see, hopefully, that this is a very difficult journey to do by yourself, because this is about working with the shadow. This is about working through the fears, working through the anxiety, versus if we try and do it by ourselves, we just run away. It's too much, it's too scary, it's too difficult. I'm going to run away. But that's what this is really about. You have to allow yourself to step into a bigger container for what you allow into your life, for what you receive, and what you really allow yourself to be. So if this resonates with you, I'd love to speak to you because, as I say, this is so much more than your voice. This is about you transforming from the inside, but really it transforms every area of your life, not just your voice, but how you show up personally and professionally. So thank you so much for listening. I would love to know if you have any comments about this, any of your experiences around this, and if you've got any questions, of course, post them below. But until then, I will see you next week.